Hello and very good morning to everyone. You're watching Newsline. We're coming to you live from the Newsfirst Center here in Colombo. Joining me today on the show is, as usual, a former diplomat and senior journalist, Mr. Bandula Jayasekara, and also attorney at law S.T. Jayanagar, who is a leading criminal lawyer. Introducing myself, I'm Mahina Bongs, and I'll be hosting the show today. And today we are going to speak about a topic that is very special today, because especially due to the fact that there's a lot of uprising, a lot of public outrage about certain incidents that have shaken the community and society as a whole, and has really questioned the criminal law in the country and the legal system in the country. There's been a public conscious rising, and today we're going to talk about this particular public consciousness. And Bandula, good morning to you.
Mahina,
And good morning to you, attorney at law, Mr. S.T. Jayanagar. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Now, as I said earlier, it's a very crucial time for Sri Lanka, not because its legal system is in the forefront and in the spotlight in Geneva, in the United Nations, with the Human Rights Commission report that has been put out, but also because of the incidents that we hear of child abuse, of rape, of drug trafficking. So there's a lot of these incidents that are making the rounds and are making the headlines in media.
Yeah, so let's start. Anyway, before I proceed, that I must also say a bit more about Jayanagar, because he was Lalith Athalatmudali's junior. He served with Lalith Athalatmudali. He was you are the pupil, you're the pupil. And then even the day Lalith was assassinated, he was with him in at court. He was appearing for G.M. Premachandra, the former minister, as well as I saw a nice book with where Jayanagar brought a beautiful article about late Lalith Athalatmudali. Now, having said that, Jayanagar, yesterday we watched the news, MTV Sirasa, police brutality at its highest, policemen attacking and assaulting mercilessly a disabled man. What's happening? Police brutality continues.
Yeah, this is very wrong. The police have no right to attack or assault people. They can use force, which we call minimum force, which has not been defined anywhere, but that is only for the purpose of arresting a person. But they can never assault a person.
But they did, and mercilessly, and a disabled person.
Yeah, that is that makes it exceedingly wrong. Now,
should we get that policeman's head examined? What do you think? You deal with the police.
Yeah, I believe so, because first thing is that the superior officers must take action against this person, and it is their duty, like SPs and SPs, it is their duty to see that these persons are disciplined. Now, in an incident like this, I also feel that there are mentally aberrated persons even within the police force.
Plenty.
Anywhere.
Police force, politicians, plenty.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Jayanagar, you were talking about minimum force, and minimum force, as you said, is not very clearly defined. But when is the police allowed to use minimum force?
No, if they are trying to arrest a person lawfully, and if that person resists, you can use force and arrest that person. That is all. And after that, once the person surrenders to you have no right to harm that person.
And then, you know what his wife said, like we watched on like news, and he said he was put behind bars and assaulted. And also, and then what, it adds insult to injury. The police spokesman, the acting police spokesman, say, oh, he was drunk. This is the usual excuse by the police. He was drunk, so this is what happened. And, shameless.
People have a right to drink. And drunkenness does not necessarily mean that you should deserve to be assaulted. Unless he behaves badly, that is an offence. Drunken and disorderly behavior by itself is an offence. But still, the police have no right to assault.
Yeah, no, but what I'm trying to say is the police statement. And so then the matter is closed. This is what is happening. It has happened before. It's happening now.
So that is where I say that the superior officers must discipline them and not defend them.
Our superior officers discipline? Now you have a DIG who's taken in for treasure hunting. You think they are disciplined? What can we expect from the superiors?
Yeah, this I think, Bandula, there is a serious breach of the entire administration system of this country. Not necessarily the police, but
starting from the politicians.
Politicians and administration of justice system, there is a serious breakdown. You see, so that has to be remedied. Very first thing is that the police force must be made independent. I think a new police commission is coming, and with which we hope that the police will be independent. The other is that...
that is when you say independent without political interference.
Without
now
political.
MPs and ministers
Yes.
can get them transferred.
That's right.
That should stop.
That's right. Now, for example, may I tell you, now a Pradesh Sabha chairman raped a Russian girl and killed her husband. But it took 1 year for the police to start the investigation. Why?
That's because
there's a
political interference.
Political interference. And also, because there was international pressure. Those two powerful countries, Russia as well as Britain, they were the people who brought pressure. If not, that case would never have been solved.
Another such case was the death of rugby player Wasim Tajuddin. There was a lot of finger pointing at the police and the way they conducted the investigations.
That is true. You are quite right. Quite right. So all these things have been hushed up. Why? Political interference.
Yeah, but you think politicians will stop that or they'll still continue?
They should. In fact, this independent commission briefly functioned sometime before, and we felt, as lawyers, the police started to feel the independence, and they were not listening to the politicians. We felt that because commission ran for about, say, 2 years or 3 years. After that, something happened to the commission. But then during that period, we felt that the police were feeling that they are independent and they were feeling about their power.
But otherwise, I also think, Mahina, that they should be paid well. The policemen, like other countries, they are well paid. So that is also, it's important, they should be well looked after. Then they will not start harassing people. Having said that, now you're talking police. Now look at the traffic violence. They catch these small fellows, small fries, and they're harassed. I mean, I don't support these trishaws and motorcyclists. They are a menace. They don't follow the rules. But police will not stop these big vehicles. And even that, the accident, I mean, the PSD thing, I mean, what I saw on the video was, I think the PSD vehicle was wrong, the way they put it. But not that we are saying the bus drivers are good, but their license were like cancelled or revoked or something.
Yes,
like. So that is what is happening. So they will not catch the real big ones. They are scared of the politicians.
That's the reason. You know what happened in our country because of the war that we had. The VIPs were provided with security by the police. So they breached the law when they travel with the VIP. They breached the law. Some of the VIPs did not need that. So they had security as an element of opulence, not that they
I would say foolishness.
Security.
People like the ordinary people laughed at these people.
Yeah, that's true. They thought they are showing off. But as you say that PSD now, so that was how they are used to. In fact, he cut the center line and overtaking a long vehicle on a bend. So finally, he decided their fate. So that was wrong. And the police, they are law enforcing officers. They must not breach the law.
But same way.
But also, there was another incident that we showed on the news, which was a gentleman who was traveling, and he was actually clearing the law with the police officers who were not really aware of certain legal rules, proceedings. How important is it to have a police force that knows the law?
It is very, very important. In fact, they have a system where there is in-service training. In fact, I lecture to them sometimes. In-service training, they are updated, but which I think is not quite enough.
How much of the law is actually, taught to these police officers?
No, the current the legal principles which are required for them to conduct themselves, we teach them. But some of the police officers who come to court and then prosecute are not up to the standard, which is not enough.
Now, moving on from there, Janag, Avant-Garde and KP.
Yes.
Is your friend the Attorney General right or wrong?
Now, I am not competent to speak about how Attorney General decided this. But judging from the news reports, there's one thing is certain. Now, there is a commission going on. And as additional secretary has said that 3,000 weapons have been given to Lanka. Lanka has given them to Avant-Garde, out of which only 89 automatic weapons had license. Now we have a law passed in 1996, Firearms Act. Under that act, if a person possesses automatic weapon, he can be sentenced to life imprisonment, and he will be arrested, and it will take at least 1 year for him to get bail. So if that was the law for the common man, when there are 3,000 weapons without license, that by itself is an offence. So you have to find out how it happened, who is responsible, who are the people holding them, so those people can be brought to book. Perhaps Attorney General, I think his decision was based on something else, where the JVP has sent a petition picking up material from here and there. So on that basis, the AG probably would have said that, well, I cannot prosecute. The AG's function is not to investigate. His function is to decide after investigators bring the material before him.
But he does advise, right? Attorney General gives advice, and then
no,
the police...
if the advice is sought, he will give advice. He will give advice if the advice is sought. But my personal opinion is that, AG will have to play a more sort of proactive role.
But again, Jayanaga, now, okay, he's under fire. The JP says summon him, like then Champika Ranawaka, I saw him, they're all attacking the AG. And AG has given an interview to the Sunday Times recently and says, look, I would not get into these exhibitions and I would not get into this, get involved with such things. But where is the fault? Who is at fault still? There is a bit of a battle with the government's lawyer, like Farah says, the government lawyer, AG, and with the politicians, the ministers and members of parliament, and even the president also has said, proceed with that case. There is a serious issue here.
Yeah, now there is a commission going on. I think all the evidence are coming before the commission, and one person in fact confessed that he gave false evidence before the commission. And commission report will be out very soon, and there are judges, right? About 3 or 4 judges.
They are sitting judges.
They are
right?
sitting judges, sitting the High Court judges. So the commission will disclose what had gone wrong with Avangard. Definitely, it will come very soon. So then Attorney General will have to take action. That's what I say. Attorney General's function is not to investigate a crime. His function is to decide whether a particular person has committed an offence and whether he can be proceeded against. How can he be charged? That is his function.
KP, he says there's nothing against KP.
I'm surprised because now there are cases against KP in India. There is a warrant out on him in India. So that we have an extradition treaty where KP can be handed over to India. And we all know that KP was the person who had been supplying arms to the LTTE. So in the circumstances, I do not know whether this matter has not been gone into, investigated. I do not know why this conclusion was reached. It's very puzzling.
Something wrong somewhere.
Is it because of political influence in echelons of power, in all echelons of power, from the legal to, and falling through from the top of the legal system right to the bottom? Is it because of these political influence and sentiments?
Well, I'm not quite competent to say that, but nevertheless, knowing the Attorney General as well as the ASGs, I know them very well. They will not subject themselves to political pressure. They are very forthright people. But I don't know whether the people who matter, the investigators, whether they have carried out a proper investigation. Even for KP, there must be some evidence.
He was protected. Then he is still protected.
Yes, he is still protected.
Anything now? See, I think that's the other next question is the death penalty.
Yes.
How many people, as a leading criminal lawyer, how many people have you sent to gallows and how many people have you saved?
I may have saved several, but I have sent to gallows 4.
Yeah.
Yes,
have they gone? But I think, they are having a good rest at the government boarding house, like for us, a government lawyer and government boarding house at our expense and doing nothing. They are enjoying their lives. But should we bring back the death penalty?
Yeah, now I need a little bit of time to explain. Criminal punishment has 4 objectives. One is deterrence, rehabilitation, incapacitation and retribution. Now the last concept is considered as too primitive in modern society. But every criminal punishment has that element of retribution. It is in full scale, it is found in death penalty. So 140 countries have abolished death penalty. There are 42 countries, they have it in law books, but they don't practice it. 58 countries do practice. Now, we belong to the second category, that we have death penalty in our statute, in our penal code, but we don't impose that. Countries, European countries, they have abolished totally. Countries like India, China, United States, Indonesia, Malaysia, and some other Central African countries, they have death penalty and they carry it out. But in India, there is a very nice system. So the question is, now the argument against death penalty is an innocent person can get convicted. If that happens, that is bad. And second argument is that it is not a deterrent, because those countries, they say that their crimes have come down, the countries which abolish death penalty, but I don't agree with that, because they may have addressed the root causes of crime, and that may be the reason that it came down. The other is that then I will come to the other argument. The other side of the coin is why the people are asking for death penalty is this, that we feel that we all are animals. We have a basic animal instinct. The basic instinct is to protect yourself, protect your life. So when death penalty is imposed, and if it is carried out, the society knows about it, and the potential offender, before he commits murder, he begins to think, or his subconscious mind tells him, look, be careful, if anything goes wrong, you will be hanged. So, especially premeditated murders. For example, Pokandara murder case, Rita Jones murder case.
That's in Putwal, yeah.
Putwal, Rita Jones murder case. And in fact, the case that I defended, Obegane Beauty Queen murder case. Now, those are heinous crimes. Barbaric.
Sarath Ambepitiya, the judge.
Sarath Ambepitiya. Those are premeditated. At least those premeditated murders will be reduced, and that will be an answer to premeditated murders. But you take a village murder, it's an impulsive act. Need that person be hanged? Now, India, they have a system where they say, a Supreme Court judgment, Bachchan versus State of Punjab, where they say they impose death penalty in rarest of rare cases. So the presiding judge, Attorney General, and the Minister of Justice gives a report, independent report, about the nature of the crime, the machinations used by the person to the president, and then president decides.
What about Janag, about this brutal rape, child abuse?
Yes.
Which really brought a lot of public consciousness to the probe. We saw the general public, usually it's mostly centered in Colombo. When a situation like that happens, there's always protests, and it's mostly in Colombo, but we saw this widespread across the island. We saw people from all over the island protesting, some even saying that they would go as the people who would work in the gallows, and urging the president to introduce the death penalty as a response to all the spate of rape and abuse that is taking place.
Yeah,
and that stemmed from this rape and abuse and murder of this little girl in Kota Danyava.
Yeah, you are quite right, because now law cannot act in a vacuum. It must not confine itself to the statutes. It must act. It must be proactive and reactive. So the law must react to the public outcry. There is a huge outrage and huge outcry. India, it happened. You remember in Delhi, a girl was raped inside the bus.
Inside the bus.
It was a gang rape. After that, they promulgated a law. They brought a law to punish those offenders and introduce the death penalty. That was way back in not very far away, maybe 2013 or 2012. So we don't have death penalty in respect of rape cases. So I also feel that death penalty should be introduced, at least. Whether it is imposed or otherwise, it's a different issue, as I said earlier. But it can be brought in. It can be brought in. In India, one phrase that was used in respect of an accused who had raped a 75-year-old woman. This man is a savage. He is a threat to the society. So
shouldn't we follow India?
We should. That's what I say. That is the best jurisprudence that we can get.
That is using the death penalty in the rarest of rarest cases. Because these type of abuse and violence, Bandula, the thing is, when one does it, it can become an epidemic in society. When you have one person doing it, but there is an outcry for the moment, but it's not a long-term outcry. There will be certain organizations who carry out this outcry and outrage for a long term, but the people get back to their lives until another incident happens. People call it the soda bottle effect. So, do you think the death penalty, if you introduce it, is it only because of this soda bottle effect that we're talking about the death penalty? After a few weeks, now we've got the chief suspect. We're waiting for the reason why he committed the murder. There's already news reports surfacing as to him being a drug addict and him being a sort of mentally unsound person. So once the fizz dies off, do you think the debate on the death penalty will also die off?
I think we really should continue, Mahima.
I think yes, that is I think media has a responsibility to carry it out, push as much as possible. I think the president has gone down on record saying that he's prepared to if the parliament approves, and the parliament also there are members who are interested in this and who want the death penalty to be brought back. Selective, as I said, selectively we can impose the death penalty. Then that innocence will not be that chance of innocent getting hanged can be eliminated, and also these are most deserving people.
Mr. Jayanaga, now we are speaking about the death penalty, but as a society, isn't there also a responsibility to educate people, especially when it comes to rape, sexual abuse of women, of children? Isn't it also to do with the education system? There was also a lot of debate about the sort of sex education we provide to students in schools and how that needs to be looked at, about how these topics need to be discussed in schools, make children aware, and also in that way educate society.
Yes, you are talking of one aspect of the education, but let me tell you, now we don't have value education. In the first place, we must bring value education to our school curriculum. You know, like
though we boast that we have these values, we respect our mothers, you know, all that, but there is no value. That's what has happened.
And we have a very high literacy rate.
Literacy rate. So, as you say, yes, sex education can be brought into our school curriculum. At the same time, my personal opinion is that we can eliminate a lot of crime by at the formative age itself, by introducing value education in schools. So values, once they are instilled in the minds of the person, you know, the law, people obey the law because of the fear, but people obey morals or they follow morals. It is instilled in their minds. You see, as you say, you respect your mother because it is instilled in your mind, not the law.
But people don't practice
and the thing is, because you don't have this value-based education, the value you place on the law also diminishes. If you look at our society, we're used to, you know, always trying to get away from the law in whatever way we can. Even if we're stopped for a traffic offense, we try to bribe the police officer. We try to, you know, convince the police
or call
officer.
Somebody and say, no, give a call. And
throw your weight about. But that's the sort of mentality that we come from. But there are certain countries where people follow the law to the letter, and it starts with the public. But here we always
but that's
sort
also
of point
mine,
the
and
finger
that's because
at
of the
police
politician. No, really, it starts with the politicians. When they say, okay, the politicians can do, why can't we do? I think that is where it should start from the top.
Yeah, if there is a harsh punishment, that will have a trickle-down effect. You know, that answers your earlier question. I think that was the soda bottle effect. The other side of that is, if there is a harsh punishment, that will have a trickle-down effect, and it will curb other crimes also. Even the simple crimes will also be curbed. We can have a crime-free society. So to a certain degree, crime-free society by having harsh punishment.
And what about capital punishment for the drug lords?
It is there. It is there. Now this is where the danger lies, Bandule. In fact, good that you asked me that question. Now, if a person possesses 2 grams of heroin, then he can be arrested and he will be sentenced to death. But this is the danger is, a person who is angry with you can introduce that into your cubbyhole and give a tip off to the police. All what is necessary is for 2 police officers to come and arrest you, that's all, and they will testify. So this can be done. We know that some of the police officers do this kind of thing. In small quantities of heroin is introduced and people are put in difficulty.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Attorney at Law S.T. Janag, for joining us on the show, leading criminal lawyer who was here to talk to us a little bit about the law and about the social responsibility that everyone, as citizens, as those who are enforcing the law, that we all should follow. And also, Bandula, thank you for joining us on the show again. We'll see you again on Monday, and on Monday we are having former Chief Justice Sarath N. Silva joining us on the show. And will you be there, Bandula, or
Yeah,
will it be
there. Faraz will join on the 3rd.
Okay, so Bandula will be sitting in for Faraz Shaukat Ali, and we'll see you again next week. Have yourself a great day.